Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ed Collab Gathering Workshop number 4. Today, we have a wonderful team of educators presenting to us today, all the way from the Hawthorne School in New Jersey. We have Saundra and Tawana, who team teach and who have team taught for a number of years at the school. Tawana is the special education teacher, and Saundra and Jemara are the regular education teachers, and they even have their principal, elementary school principal, Deirdre, with them. And we are talking about inclusive education, making it work. So over to you, Deirdre, Tawana.
Good morning. We just unmuted our microphone. I think we're there. Welcome to Inclusive Education, Making It Work Through Collaboration. Thanks so much to Chris Lehman and the Educator Collaborative, and of course the tech team. A big shout out to Ryan Dunbar, who has spent countless time with us, and Carolyn Hilarious, who was just walking me off the cliff, really, when I couldn't get the slide to work. We're excited. We're excited today to join educators from all around and share our message of inclusive education and collaboration and all of our learnings. I'm proud to be here today with the members of my team. We all work together from New Jersey, and we've been collaborating to make inclusion work at our school for the time that I've been principal now for 6 years, and prior to that, the program that's been running really for 8 years. As the principal, I'm really proud. We've come a long way in the 6 years that we have been together. There goes my phone in the background. I'm so sorry. Tawana is the special education teacher that supports Saundra that you'll see in a couple of minutes. Saundra is our general education teacher that has been in inclusion for quite some time. And we have Jemara, who has been a general education teacher as well in our school. So I'm just going to try to go over to the slides right now because I wanted to share with you. I think we're going to get this, Carolyn. There we are, inclusive education, making it work through collaboration. And what we wanted to do now was really just share our story. We've come a long way. Our program began around 2008 when we started to see a large number of students that were being classified with autism. And the program emerged really to fill a need and fill a need with our students that were on the spectrum. And providing placement in a least restrictive environment for them, and enabling them to interact with peer role models, socially, academically, and behaviorally. What we found over the course of the last 5 years was that the number of students with an autistic classification began decreasing. And when we were looking really closely, we found that the number of students with varying classifications from multiply disabled, communication impaired, and other health impairments was actually increasing. We also noticed that the model that was existing, which was placement in the general education setting for mainstream subjects, there was a pull-out support for direct instruction with the students. And what we saw was that it was not really yielding any results for us in terms of student growth, and it was not matching our curricula in terms of alignment with the general education standards. So after taking a really, really close look at our data and thinking about what was happening, we knew that a shift really needed to take place. And so we instituted the inclusion model, which is a special education teacher that goes into the general education classroom and supports the general education teacher. This was for a half-day session, and we had a paraprofessional in the classroom that also stayed in the classroom all day to support the general education teacher and receive training from the special education teacher. The other piece, which Tawana is going to speak about in a little bit, is the social skills component. We felt that that was a strong component of the program, and it was consistently woven into the
beginning, right, into the beginning when the ASD program first started. That was a big piece, was that social skills piece with the kids who were going to be in an inclusive setting, which was very important, which I'll speak on later.
So I'm going to shift again to our slides. I think we're getting the hang of it. Carolyn, I hope you can see it. Just to talk a little bit about our goals for today. There is just so much to share with so little time. And today we really want to focus on just spreading the word about the benefits of inclusion and co-teaching, along with some of the trials and tribulations that we feel are really important in making the model work. It's important to note that ultimately it's all about great teaching. It's all about including all children regardless of their disabilities, and including all children in the work that we do. Just moving on, something that we spoke about was football. Most of us here at the table today have a connection to football, and I know my colleagues definitely know that I am a tremendous Jets fan, and so we kind of set up an analogy to the NFL. And in thinking about Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, he talks about getting the right people on the bus. And that's been an important piece of this for us. It's really like the NFL draft. Inclusive education requires matching players that work, and matching players that work well together as a team. Sometimes it works, and sometimes we really need to be prepared to intervene and support the individual members of the team and give them as much coaching as possible. First of all, it's not just about special education, right? It's about good, solid teaching practices. It's about everything that we already know, those great strategies that we know. It's about small group instruction. It's about conferring with readers and writers consistently. It's about using visual cues and manipulatives and providing kids with real world examples. So when we're thinking about the team working together, and we have members of our team today, Saundra and Tawana have worked closely together for the past 8 years as a team, kind of like a marriage.
Yes, it's a marriage, where we kind of finish each other's sentences, finish each other's thoughts. Saundra will talk more about it, give some examples, but it is a marriage. And like in marriage, you have to know one another, you have to be flexible. You have to know that you're not going to think the same, but that doesn't mean that you can't work together, again, for the benefit of not just the kids, the special kids with special needs in the classroom, but for everyone, because inclusive education is for everyone. So that drafting of the team and the players and the mindset of those who are working in that program is very, very important.
You know, everyone on the team, the most important piece of putting this together when we are drafting those members is to think about helping the team to understand their purpose for all the children, setting expectations for everybody working together, both the teachers and the paraprofessional when they're working in the classroom with the students. And we found that sitting down with the inclusion staff every single year to discuss the importance of teaching all students, regardless of their identification, is absolutely essential. And it also requires a lot of cheerleading, doesn't it?
It does a lot of cheerleading. And I think that, again, the team part is so important. The paraprofessional is just as important as all of us in the class, and we're a team, and the students should look at us as all of a team. And so that's why the training is very important of that para, that respect that you give toward that para in the classroom, because that person is also a person in that classroom who's working for the benefit of that team of all of us.
One of the things that's important to think about is sitting down with the members of the team and talking to them about why they've been selected to work together. And it certainly takes a mindset and a mind shift in terms of working together. And Saundra can really speak to this, just about that harmony. Saundra?
Yes, definitely that mind shift and the teaming. One thing, Tawana and I, as you know, have been working together for quite some time, and I've kind of dubbed our names as yin and yang. We have that peaceful harmony going on. Wasn't always that way. You know, we had to figure some things out. Again, as I begin to speak a little more about planning a little later, having that harmony, agreeing to disagree, and just the goal of student success in mind has been beneficial in our years. I'm not sure if you can hear the lawnmower in the back. We're we're getting a little feedback, and we're missing some of the sound because of the lawnmower. Saturday morning. In terms of planning, we are, teaching, can be unpredictable at times. And all right, are we on that slide? I just want to do a slide check. Oh, just a slide check. Okay, yes. Teaching can be unpredictable. No matter how much time and care we take in planning our lessons, we're never, really sure what the day may bring. Unexpected things do arise from time to time. As you know, Tawana and I, we have had different things come up where we planned, we had an if-then situation created. We planned for one thing and skip over a part because they were actually a little more successful than we thought in our plan. And then there were times we had to really stop, go back to the huddle, and really sit down and rethink the next step in order to make approach for student success. There were plenty of times that we planned to, and we had that Hail Mary pass and stop, we see an open window. We had to rethink and again analyze that situation and then run a different play. And just as we all know as teaching professionals, the best laid plans may not always, the way we expected, but most often it has been very, very successful. But just being flexible, working, with Tawana's specialty in special education, the flexibility, a little give and take where we both have to compromise in some areas. And again, consider the parallel teaching. And
I'll speak a lot on after the planning. Planning is essential, absolutely. If you don't plan, prepare to fail. So once the planning is done, you're live. So I think one thing to keep in mind is that when you're in the classroom, anybody walking in should not be able to tell the different populations in your classroom. Both teachers should be working with all students at the same, all the time. It shouldn't be that one teacher is working with the special needs population and the other is working with the general ed population. I know at Hawthorne, we make sure that both teachers are working with students all the time. A visitor would never be able to tell who's actually in the inclusion program. Speaking on that, once you're planning, you have different models that you might want to use while teaching. So I'm just going to speak to the different models. They go by several different names. I would say is complementary teaching. Complementary teaching is like one lead teacher and one support teacher. So the teacher is leading the lesson and the other teacher is hovering or walking around, giving one-on-one instruction, making sure that the students are focusing on tasks, giving repeat instructions, writing notes down for the students who need note-taking. She's just supporting teacher while the lead teacher can get the lesson across to the entire class. So that's one model. One advantage of that is the one-on-one support that the students get. However, one disadvantage would be that you, the lead teacher, as the main teacher, and that's at some point. Another disadvantage is that the students may begin to develop a need for that one-on-one instruction. And so essentially you want to build independence, so the one-on-one support is something that they should be depending on. Another model is station teaching. This works well with stuff like science and social studies, or even daily 5. You might set up 3 or 4 stations in your classroom. 2 would be where the students can do something independently, like word work, word study. And then you might have guided reading as a station, and both teachers can do guided reading while the other students are working independently. One downside to that is that it could get noisy and you need to prepare. But the upside is that you can work in small groups and manage the classroom. That also requires a lot of pre-planning and classroom preparation. You have to have your classroom set up for that.
Definitely. That, and just, you know, because we're in the same particular area, but making the time for the co-planning is essential. Beginning of the week, end of the week, and as Tawana and I have done very often over the phone on Sunday night. Definitely, you know, scheduling must be of the essence. It can be a challenge, but you have to make it work. The planning, I should say.
Planning. Another model would be parallel teaching. This is where one teacher, both teachers are giving the same instruction, so they have had to plan together, and they pre-assume groups that they'll work with. So one teacher is on one side of the room, the other teacher's on the other side. They're giving the same instruction, but in different ways. One teacher might want to use technology. One teacher may want to use paper and pencil. One teacher may use manipulatives or visual aids. So you just really address the needs of your students by assessing them and use those learning styles and teach at the same time. One disadvantage of that is you got to make sure that you finish at the same time. You know, if one teacher's lesson is long-winded, then the other teacher is done, then that creates some type of and space in your classroom, making sure that your classroom has the feng shui for space so that you can do that. Model would be alternative teaching. Alternative teaching is kind of, I feel like it's like on demand. You're in the middle of a lesson and you're assessing, you're doing that quick check, and then you're like, students over here, they need you to pull them out because they need you to reteach, or these 5 students need extra time because they have extended time. So you can either pull the group inside or you can take them outside, but it's kind of on demand. Again, space might be an issue with that. That might be a downside. And then you don't want being pulled out to be labeled as that group that is the smart group or the group that's not the smart group. So flexible, and that the students never really can identify, oh, this group is going with that teacher because they don't get it, you know. That would be one disadvantage. And the last model, because I had 5, I'm sure there's several others, but I just wanted to speak on 5, is the shared teaching. In our classroom, we like to call that tag team, you know, like a wrestling match. You know, one teacher starts off, she's leading, and then the next thing you know, then it's the other teacher's turn. This works really well when you plan together, because there are times when you're given the lesson and you forget to do something, and you can definitely chime in, and you guys are bouncing back and forth. Teaching is to say, one teacher may take language arts and science, and the other teacher may take math and social studies for planning purposes, but when you get in the classroom, you're both teaching simultaneously. Again, the only disadvantage for that is the preparation time, having that time to plan and to run smoothly. So those are the 5 co-teaching models. Call them what you want, and I think one of the main things is that you never really know which one you want to use. You can plan, but you have to be flexible. You shouldn't stick to just one model. Try them all out and see what works best for you in your classroom.
Thanks, Jemara.
I wanted to just piggyback off of what Jemara and Saundra said, so because I think it's so important, all the models. And I think that one thing that we would all agree on, that I think that I'm proud of at Hawthorne School, and I think Dr. Spollen-LaRaia is too, Deirdre, that we don't have power struggles in our inclusive classrooms. I think that an important thing with inclusion is to know that it is inclusion and that you have to relinquish power. There's a lot of people coming in and out of the classroom all the time besides our inclusive teachers, and you might have the related services, and you might have the other students who are being pulled out for MET, LET, so you instrumental music, the list goes on and on and on. So you have to have that flexibility, and you can't think you have to have that power and control, because as we all know, it wouldn't work. So that's a really, really important piece, is knowing that we all support one another and not having to be so in control of everything. I don't know if the girls would agree. Yeah.
Absolutely, right. Jemara spoke a lot about just the different models that we utilize, but the key piece that she really came up with is being flexible. And that's an important part of the inclusive classroom. You know, we need to always rethink. We need to be like that NFL team, and we really need to analyze what's happening in our classroom. And in many cases, we need to run different plays. And so all of those different models, it's important to plan for, but also being flexible enough to make changes, and make changes ultimately based upon the needs of the students. That's the important piece. We're going to turn over now. We're gonna talk a little bit. Tawana is going to speak a little bit about teamwork and understanding and accepting. And Carolyn, I'm going to try to pull those slides up again. We just spoke about whether we should run the defense or hurry up offense and which model to choose. And Tawana now is going to speak a little bit about the teamwork and the social skills piece that we spoke of earlier.
Teamwork and understanding. Part of the inclusive practice is providing understanding and accepting for the children in our classroom. We know that all of our students have very different needs, unique needs, and they're learning how to navigate. When we think of the word, when we think of social skills, we're thinking of the way that we know how to act and communicate with others in different social situations. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. I think we're all familiar with him. And a question was asked to him, well, how do you feel about social skills? And he says, well, I think I've mastered the big three, but the coy smile, the friendly chuckle, and the vocalization of sympathy, which he's still working on. And I think that's something so important, because as educators, we need to know that we need to teach our students, all of us, social skills are so important. We're social everywhere. I think the only time that we're not social is when we're asleep. But everywhere we are figuring out how to socially navigate ourselves. And so this is something that's a really big piece of our inclusive program, is teaching our children social skills, not only our children with special needs, but also the students who are in the classroom, increasing that acceptance and that awareness that all of us have different needs. And so some of the ways that we have done that is through some of our social skills resources that we've used in the classroom. We've had curriculum that has been given to us to promote social awareness. We've used social video modeling. Saundra and I have done a lot where we've used social skills, and we've done role play and interactive, where we've worked on learning to teaching students how to tolerate differences. What does that skill mean? Inclusive practices as far as conversations, staying on task, a variety of different skills. But again, these social skills are not just for the kids with special needs, it's for all of us, all the kids in the class, which makes it inclusive. And by promoting these social skills in the classroom, it has definitely made everyone appreciate the diversity of all the students in our classroom. It's built better communication skills. as far as our students who do have those needs, being able to observe other students' social skills, and being able how to maybe ask for help, which is something that we teach. If they're frustrated, how can they better communicate that their frustration? All of this, again, is part of that social skills piece that we teach. We also do this through with a morning meeting. That's Dr. Spollen-LaRaia introduced into our building, which is wonderful, which follows a responsive classroom, which also promotes that acceptance of differences. So we're always working on different social skills in our classroom. And then actually a great piece that Dr. Spollen-LaRaia does, she has readings of the books that she does with our students, which also promotes social awareness. So it's not only in our classes, but also the whole school community, which is very, very important. So
just to speak on that, right? So that has been a strong component in bringing in those read alouds that promote appreciation of diversity,
yes.
and increasing awareness of everyone's differences and accepting all of those differences and communicating as a classroom
yes.
family and also as a school family.
Yes.
And in doing those read alouds, that is a strong focus in our morning meetings on a daily basis, in not just our inclusive classrooms,
right.
but also in classrooms throughout our school.
Mm-hmm.
The read alouds that Tawana is talking about are my principal's read alouds, my monthly read alouds, that really speak to respect and kindness, and those manners, which
yes.
are so important in our inclusive classrooms, particularly for those students who may be communication impaired,
yes.
And need support.
Yes, because the ultimate goal of social skills is not only just to teach the students the way to behave, but also to shape their thinking so that it influences the way that they will respond or interact in different social settings. And over the years that I've been working in the inclusive practice and teaching social skills, I've had seen so much of the benefits from this. I've seen students being accepting of kids with different needs, building these friendships, not in school, but outside of school. I've seen these students at school dances. I've seen these in different activities outside of school, where the students who have had the needs in the classroom will be greeted by their peers and included and happy to see them. So social skills piece is a very important piece for all of the students and all of us. And as an inclusive team, this is something I know that we all try to promote.
And I think, Jemara, you were going to add to that. We'll turn it over.
Saundra.
Saundra.
Yes. I would like to add that introducing the social skills, we wanted to really build their self-awareness of their own personal needs, and then helping them to develop the skills to become a strong advocate for themselves. As where school, the students will soon be moving on to middle/high school. And as you all know, there are times we have substitute teachers who may not know them, will not know them as well as their teachers that are, so introducing the social skills definitely creates a strong classroom community of understanding and acceptance. But just, most importantly, having each child become a strong advocate for themselves and being aware of their needs. Yay!
Oh, here's our slide.
And being aware of their needs, yes. Oh. Okay, there's our slide.
Just to speak off of what Saundra was saying, you definitely have to let the children know how the classroom is going to flow in the beginning, that students are going to be coming in and out, there are going to be small groups, there's going to be more than one teacher, there's going to be a paraprofessional in the room, and we're all considered teachers, that they're going to be communicating with several instructional people in the building. So it's really important that the students are prepared and know how to respond, especially when you have that student who might be multiply disabled or physically disabled. students should know how to help out, and doing this for some time, really open to helping each other out and to each other and accepting everybody's differences and disabilities. So it's very important to prepare the kids and do all that social work. Have those morning meetings, have those discussions in the middle of a lesson, having that you can do right then and there. I think that Deirdre is going to talk more about working together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I actually, and I'm getting the group chat on the side, and I'm also realizing that when I thought that I was showing slides, I was not showing slides. So we're going to try that again. It's awesome. I think showing humor and is an important aspect of our job as educators, and it certainly helps to bring some light to the situation, and it certainly helps when we're working together.
Yeah.
Teaching in a lot of respects is still an isolated profession. Many of us are working alone in classrooms, and sometimes it takes a lot to open our doors and to connect and form relationships and collaborate. And so in thinking about our title today in terms of inclusive education and working together to make it work, Jemara, spoke about it, Saundra spoke about it. It's about being flexible. It's about finding time to collaborate. It's about really working together for the students. And so, there we go. I think we're back, right? Okay. So, the truth is in inclusive education, where there's a general education teacher and a special education teacher, and in some cases, additional support staff. We have paraprofessionals that are in our classrooms. We have speech therapists and occupational therapists that are also pushing into the classroom. And we share a really, really small space. Yes. We share a small classroom space. And so we need to really learn how to live together, as a group, how to work together as a team, how to communicate. And ultimately, what the bottom line is supporting the needs of our students. Communication and planning are key. Saundra spoke about that. I know that both she and Tawana spend a lot of time collaborating and planning, not just in the space that they've been given, but outside of that space. And when we think about it, it's about both teachers and all of the support personnel in the classroom really knowing the students that they have in front of them. Mm-hmm. It's about spending time to look at student work together, to look at those assessments that Jemara spoke about, really analyze how we can support children moving to the next level. And ultimately, it's the students. It's the students that benefit from the support of all of the teachers in the classroom. An important piece that we did not really touch on, but it's about having that shared classroom and letting students know that it's a shared and an equal responsibility for both teachers, both the special education teacher and the general education teacher and the paraprofessional, that we're all equal partners in supporting the success of the students.
And I think that's a very important thing, like Deirdre said, for them to see it. So whether it be like what Saundra and I sometimes the way we teach, we switch off. Sometimes I'll go pick up the kids. Sometimes she picks up the kids. Communication with the parents. Sometimes it'll be from me. Sometimes it'll be from her again. So the students look at both of us as equal teaching in the classroom. That's really, really important. And again, something that you said too is our mindset as teachers. Again, we're there for the benefit of the students. The students feel what we feel. So whatever we're feeling that day, or if you feel a certain way about a student, because sometimes we know we all feel certain ways about they'll feel that. So we have to think about constantly, how are we looking at our students? What are we promoting? What kind of environment are we promoting in our environment? Because they feed off of that. So it's very, very important that as inclusion teachers that we also think about that. And I think that we do a really good job with doing that in our classrooms. We try to.
We try to.
Yeah.
We definitely do. To close it out here, just to, when I was tuning in to Chris Lehman's opening, one of the things that he mentioned was that we're all humans and we all care and everyone is valued. And so if there's one takeaway for making inclusive education work for you, it's that we all care very deeply about the children. And we're all interested in moving them forward and helping them grow. Yeah. And that is just a key piece of inclusion, where everyone is valued, the children, and of course, the support staff that help to make it work every single day. So thank you. I think Carolyn is going to take over now with, if you have any questions. I think that we're down there on the bottom, the Ed Collab Gathering, we're workshop number 4. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So ladies, I do have Patsy Gray tweeting in, and she is saying, she's just repeating what you guys said, and said you have to relinquish power. Any suggestions for supporting teachers who don't want to give up that power when you're in that inclusive environment?
I think that a lot of teachers are nervous or do not want to work because either they've been teaching so long and they have their set program together, or they just want that role as the lead teacher. I think sharing that, you're sharing responsibilities, including planning. You're sharing going to the copy. You're sharing the behavior issues. How many times have lunch and there's a behavior issue, but you want to get your lesson started. Well, now you have 2 teachers in the room, so one can deal with the behavior issue while you start the lesson for the majority of the students. If there's a student having an issue in the room, there's other hands there. 2 minds are always better than one. You can pop ideas off of each other. You can plan together. You can look at assessments and not just assume things. You actually can piggyback off of each other. I think just who don't want to relinquish the control, they should start, maybe take baby steps. Maybe say, hey, lead social skills and social studies, and see how that works out. And then eventually start parallel teaching. Together, you can both be in control. So I think that would be, a good way to help ease teachers out of that.
I also have Catherine here talking about what is administration's role in supporting the inclusive environment.
That's a great piece, Carolyn. One of the things in terms of relinquishing power, Jemara mentioned it's the shared responsibility. And Catherine's question about the administrator's role, it's about planning. It's about looking at individuals that truly believe in inclusive education and believe in the children. And my role as the principal is really about matching individuals together that would work well as a team, and sitting down and having conversations about the roles and the expectations. I can't stress enough that time at the end of June when school is wrapping up and over the summer, the time that is really spent thinking about those teams that would work best together. And that's a tremendous part of the administrator's role in matching individuals together that are going to work towards building students.
And I would like to add to that, I think that one thing that I would like to say is that being an administrator, Deirdre is also a very good listener. And so she will listen to our concerns if we have concerns when it comes to inclusion or anything that any ideas or suggestions. And I think that's a great role of an administrator also, which shows that we really care about it, is that the listening piece, which is something that I do believe that she does.
I think we're waiting for
Questions.
All right. I also have Patsy Gray talking about starting the inclusive and co-teaching journey in her school in Wyoming. Any advice for her?
Wow, that's awesome. Just start and start.
Yeah.
Know that it is, I love the way that she described it as being a journey.
Yes.
It certainly is a journey.
Yes.
It's about trial and error. It's about remembering that it's for the students, and certainly matching up the teams that are going to work together, sharing those responsibilities, carving out time to meet, to plan together, to talk about students together, and about assessing students together.
Right. Thinking about what is your goal? What is the goal of the inclusion program? What do you want to reach? What is your goal? I think that's really, really important.
And it's about, helping students meet those standards,
Yes.
but it's also about helping students to work together and accept each other's differences.
I can add, sorry. It's a marriage. It's like any relationship. So if you're starting the journey, communication is key. If you're preparing dinner tonight and your husband goes out to get pizza, you didn't communicate. So I think co-teacher, communication is key. You have to talk about expectations, your roles, who's going to lead this lesson, where are we going to go for this lesson. It's communication. If you're starting this journey with another teacher, at time, go have a drink and communicate, communicate beforehand, be proactive.
Yes.
I'm assuming you are the administrator. As the administrator, as Deirdre said, the one thing that you may want to do is really step back and observe which are really, working together well, and take that and run with it. And then, again, work with teachers as the model, and then sharing that out as well.
So we just want to thank you all so much for coming together with us today to share our journey and our story about inclusive education and making it work. And a big shout out to Carolyn for guiding us through the tech process. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you all for joining in and tweeting in. That was a really insightful way to look at inclusive education. I think we can all take pointers and start our own journey in our own schools and try to be more inclusive with our populations. Thank you again to Saundra, Deirdre, Jemara, and Tawana. Just so you know, for those of you who are still with us, please stay with us. We are going to be, there's a lot of other wonderful sessions that are coming your way. Workshop number 6 is by Joellen McCarthy and Chad Everett. They're going to be talking about building a writing community. Workshop number 7, talking about questioning and curiosity to support disciplinary literacy. Workshop number 8 by Emily and Jennifer, talking about close reading and writing. And workshop number 9 by Ross, Natalie, and Erin, talking about story casting in the classrooms. Lots of good sessions coming up. Do stay with us for that in the next session. Once again, thanks to our ladies here, and thank you for joining us. Hope to see you in our next sessions. Goodbye.